This drone costs more than 3 fifth-generation fighters, yet it has never fired a single shot. Its weapon is information, and it kills more effectively than any missile. The RQ-4 Global Hawk is not just a drone, it is a satellite that was brought down a bit closer to Earth. While other drones try to hide or attack quickly, the Global Hawk glides proudly through the stratosphere, looking down on the world. In a single mission, it scans a territory the size of a small European country. Its price tag of over $200 million makes every loss a cause for national mourning. But the real-time data it transmits is priceless. These are the eyes of the Pentagon, eyes that never blink and never tire. To get this giant system unit with wings into the air, Americans had to build an airframe that matches a Boeing in size but possesses the grace of an Olympic glider. The Global Hawk operates where the air is too thin for birds and where civilian airliners look like tiny dots far below. This aircraft belongs to the HALE, high-altitude long-endurance class of UAVs. Its mission is not just reconnaissance, but strategic surveillance. While tactical drones circle the battlefield, the Global Hawk hovers at an altitude of 18 to 20 kilometers, staying well out of reach for most medium-range anti-aircraft systems. In a single day, it can scan 100,000 square kilometers, equivalent to meticulously examining every square meter of Iceland or South Korea within 24 hours. It is the perfect tool for tracking the movement of entire armies without formally crossing borders, simply by peering over them from an immense height. To stay aloft in this thin air with tons of electronics on board, the drone required wings with a span that makes standard hangars feel cramped. If you parked a Global Hawk next to a Boeing 737, you would be surprised. The drone's wingspan is actually larger. The dimensions of this drone defy imagination. The fuselage length is 14.5 meters, and the wingspan reaches nearly 40 meters. This isn't a stylistic choice, but a physical necessity. To stay airborne in the extremely thin air at 20 kilometers, massive surfaces are needed to generate lift. With a maximum takeoff weight of 14,600 kilograms, it is comparable to a heavy fighter. Seeing it on a runway, it is hard to believe there isn't a single person inside. It is a massive, hollow, and incredibly expensive shell designed for one purpose: stable flight on the edge of space. A beast made of mere metal simply wouldn't fly that high. The secret to the Global Hawk's lightness and strength lies in its skin and skeleton, assembled from advanced composites. This giant weighs as much as 2 trucks, but its wings are made of the same material as Formula One cars, and its head is transparent to radio waves. To ensure the Global Hawk doesn't collapse under its own weight at extreme altitudes, Northrop Grumman engineers turned it into a masterpiece of materials science. The massive 40-meter wing is made entirely of high-strength carbon fiber. This allows it to flex slightly during flight to dampen vibrations while remaining incredibly rigid. The fuselage is a hybrid, a classic aluminum structural frame for strength paired with composite panels to shed weight. Its most recognizable feature is the characteristic hump on its nose. This is a massive satellite antenna fairing made of a special composite that is perfectly transparent to radio signals but protects the delicate electronics from icing and temperature fluctuations. Inside this drone, there are no propellers. There is a roaring jet heart from Rolls-Royce that pushes it forward with enough energy to power a small village. Unlike most UAVs, the Global Hawk uses a powerful Rolls-Royce F137 turbofan engine. This allows it to do more than just putter through the sky. It can climb rapidly to its operational altitude and maintain a steady speed of about 630 kilometers per hour. But flight is only half the story. The real magic happens in the data exchange. The drone is controlled via satellite communication, SATCOM. Everything its sensors see is instantly digitized and beamed via satellite to a ground control station, which could be on the other side of the planet. It is literally an ultra-high-resolution stream from the stratosphere directly to the desks of analysts at Langley or the Pentagon. This drone can take off from a base in California, fly to the shores of Africa, work there for half a day, and return home without ever touching the ground for fuel. The range of the Global Hawk is a staggering 22,000 kilometers. To put that in perspective, that is more than half the length of the equator. It can stay in the air for up to 36 hours straight. Such endurance completely changes the game for intelligence gathering. Command doesn't need to deploy secret bases near a conflict zone. The drone simply flies in from another hemisphere. While ground operators might rotate 3 times during a single shift, the aircraft itself continues to calmly trace circles in the stratosphere. Essentially, the only things limiting its flight time are the engine's oil capacity and the patience of those analyzing its endless data stream. In the 90s, the Pentagon grew tired of risking pilots' lives in ultra-high altitude flights where any mistake meant death, so they decided to turn the legendary spy plane into a soulless but perfect algorithm. In the 1990s, the US faced a problem. Their primary spy plane, the U-2 Dragon Lady, was magnificent but dangerously difficult to operate. Pilots spent 10 hours in pressure suits, battling hallucinations and the risk of decompression at 21 kilometers. The Global Hawk program was conceived as a modern, unmanned alternative. The goal was to create a machine that could do everything the U-2 did, but stay over the target 3 times longer without complaining about fatigue. If the U-2 is a temperamental violin requiring a virtuoso, the Global Hawk is an industrial scanner that methodically and soullessly translates the Earth's surface into terabytes of data. Global Hawk doesn't need telescope-sized lenses to read a license plate. Its main strength is a radar for which bad weather does not exist. The heart of the drone is the HISAR system. This is not just a camera, but a combination of infrared sensors, ultra-high-resolution optics, and, most importantly, a synthetic aperture radar, SAR. While ordinary drones are blinded by fog, dust storms, or thick clouds, SAR slices right through them. It builds a detailed 3D image of the terrain using reflected radio waves. From a height of 18 kilometers, the Global Hawk can see objects as small as a football. Furthermore, it can detect even minute changes in the landscape. If someone buried a mine by the road or moved a crate in a military camp, change detection algorithms will instantly highlight it in red. The Global Hawk is the world's largest pacifist with wings. There isn't a single missile mount on it, and that is not an accident. It is a cold calculation. Many wonder why a 14-ton beast carries no bombs. The answer lies in specialization. Every extra ton of weight means a loss in altitude or flight time. The Global Hawk is designed to operate at the peak of its capabilities in the stratosphere. Adding missiles would require reinforcing the wings, changing the aerodynamics, and most importantly, sacrificing space inside the fuselage currently occupied by ultra-expensive electronics. Instead of pulling the trigger itself, this drone acts as a prompter. It feeds target coordinates to strike aircraft or artillery. Its job is to know, not to hit. It is far too valuable to descend for an attack and expose itself to counterfire. Even without the weight of munitions, this drone demands royal treatment on the ground. It cannot be maintained in the field. It requires a literal digital palace. You cannot simply roll a Global Hawk out of a garage. Its takeoff requires an infrastructure equivalent to the budget of a small city and a team of people large enough to fill a stadium stand. The Global Hawk is the queen of aviation, demanding conditions to match. It requires a perfectly level runway, at least 2.5 to 3 kilometers long, and specialized climate-controlled hangars to ensure its delicate electronics don't lose their minds from humidity. But the most critical part is the ground segment. Control is exercised through a complex network of satellites, while on the ground an entire mission control element, MCE, is deployed, essentially a high-tech data center. Keeping just one such drone in the air requires the simultaneous work of about 50 to 70 specialists: pilots, sensor operators, systems engineers, and data analysts. One of the most expensive and temperamental components is the SAR radar, which requires sterile conditions and highly qualified technicians for maintenance. Such complexity and cost are justified in only one case: when you need to see everything happening in enemy territory without entering into direct contact. This drone has become the ultimate gladiator of the digital age Cold War. It hovers for hours near foreign borders, making entire air defense headquarters break into a cold sweat. The Global Hawk received its baptism by fire in Afghanistan and Iraq, where it provided a 24/7 eye in the sky for ground troops. In Libya and Syria, it became an indispensable conductor, guiding NATO aviation to their targets. But its true element is border patrolling. Today, in 2026, its call signs, such as the famous Forte 1-0, are regularly spotted on flight tracking services. It methodically carves circles over the Black Sea and Eastern Europe, remaining in neutral airspace while peering hundreds of kilometers deep into sovereign territory. It is the perfect provocateur. It cannot be shot down without declaring war, yet it cannot be ignored, as it tracks every vehicle movement in real time. However, even such an all-seeing eye has an expiration date. Its massive wingspan and radio emissions make it too prominent a target in a world where air defense systems are becoming increasingly intelligent. The Global Hawk is retiring not because it is failing, but because it has become too conspicuous in a world where secrecy is valued more than perfect vision. The RQ-4 Global Hawk will forever remain in history as the drone that made strategic reconnaissance unmanned. It proved that entire regions can be controlled without putting pilots in danger. However, in 2026, its time is gradually fading. The main problem with the Global Hawk is its immense radar signature. To modern air defense systems, this 40-meter giant glows on radar screens like a Christmas tree. The US Air Force has already begun partially replacing the fleet with more secretive and toothy platforms, such as the RQ-180. Nevertheless, the Global Hawk remains a primary tool for NATO, continuing its endless vigils wherever there is a need to show presence and gather maximum data without crossing the line into open conflict. It was the most expensive and ambitious eye in the sky, teaching us that in modern warfare, information is the most precious resource, and altitude is the best defense. Its career is approaching its sunset, but the digital shadow it created will cover the planet for a long time to come.